Okay, guys, I'm not going to edit this video. This is just going to be straight up raw, and hopefully I'll be able to cover what I need to say this quickly. This album doesn't deserve a 20 words or less, because it doesn't even deserve that amount of clever thought going into a review of it. If you didn't know, Logic is a Maryland rapper. He lives in LA now. He's put out a few full-length albums at this point. This is his, I don't know how many projects at this point. I don't even know if this is an album, really. But yeah, he's really in the last, I would say, couple years, really just gone full force on, I'm gonna crap out as many projects as I can, as many commercial projects as I can, and it's just, at this point, I'm just so done with Logic, because ever since the release of, I guess it would have been The Incredible True Story, which is a pretty solid album. It's not amazing, but it's a very solid record. Ever since then, he's just been putting out garbage, in my opinion. Bobby Tarantino was somewhat decent. Everybody, in retrospect, is a terrible album. Bobby Tarantino 2 was, again, somewhat decent, just because he wasn't, trying to do a stupid concept or try to make you believe that something is better than it is. What's the next? His last one was the Young Sinatra 4. Last installment in that series of mixtapes, even though it was an album, I don't know. But that album was pretty much, for the most part, straight garbage. Again, couple highlights, but basically nothing. And as we look at this new thing, because he just put out a book. He wrote a book for the first time in his life. It's his first book. It's called Supermarket. And what he decided to do was release this book and then release a soundtrack for the book. I don't know how that's supposed to work, because it's not like a movie or something, unless there's supposed to be, I do not know, guys, I do not know. But yeah, he puts out this book, he puts out this soundtrack alongside of it, just called Supermarket Soundtrack. It is 13 songs, it is about 49, it says on here, so 50 minutes. Which is pretty good for Logic. I mean, a lot of his projects lately have been incredibly long-winded and way too long, just in general. Way too many tracks. It's not actually, never mind, not way too many tracks. Just the songs go on forever. And even on this one, even though it's only 50 minutes, which is very short for a Logic album, basically, like, it's just like, even some tracks on here just feel like they're just going on for so long, and it's just a little frustrating at a couple points. Especially on the opening track, Bohemian Rhapsody. Yes, that's pretty much a big hint towards how terrible this record is, because it is downright terrible. It's gonna be bad lighting, because I'm gonna be looking at the track list on my laptop here. Okay, I'm getting text from my wife, but I'm gonna keep going with this. So, yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody, that's the name of one of the songs on here. And basically, this album is Logic trying to make, like, his own little pop album. Like a pop rock album, I guess. Basically it's a pop rock album. It has a couple tracks that kind of feel more hip hop influenced. The opening track, again, Bohemian Rhapsody, has a trap beat that comes in at the end. Logic does an extremely half-hearted rap verse. And the following track, Can I Kick It, actually has probably the best instrumental on the entire record. It is a huge reference to Tribe Called Quest, obviously, and literally that comes through. He literally just uses the Tribe Called Quest hook here. But man, Logic, again, on this track, he does like one verse, and it's so half-hearted. It's just like, Logic, I feel like he's just, his lyrical content, especially on this album, where he's singing pretty much the whole time, because this is more of like a rock pop album. But Logic, his lyrical content is literally the most empty, recycled platitudes. Like, it's just mind-boggling that this guy thinks that this is good. and that this should be put out. This is like an album that I would make if I was like 14 and I wanted to make a terrible, like a joke rock album. Like, and I did that. You can't find it on the internet, obviously, because I wouldn't show you that. And also, I was terrible at recording at that time. But, by the way, my music in the description. But yeah, it's just like Logic. I feel like he just thinks everything he pulls out of his butt is like is a great album or something like that, because he's just literally, it feels like he's just crapping him out at this point. And this is like the pinnacle of, I think, the worst. It's got to be close to the worst thing he's ever done. Like, it's got to be close to that, because literally so many songs here are just him recycling song ideas from other artists that were much better than him. Him just borrowing lyrics from other more famous songs, like creating these incredibly vague situations in his songs. Like a couple songs here kind of have a story, but they also kind of don't. Like it's so confusing. But yeah, this album is just like. After Bohemian Rhapsody, which is incredibly repetitive, incredibly boring. It's like way too long. It's like nearly 7 minutes. Can I Kick It is like the one spot I kind of vibe with, just because of the beat and just because it references Tribe Called Quest. And like literally, it's like the most overt Tribe Called Quest reference. Like if you're a fan of Tribe Called Quest, you know the song Can I Kick It? Like, and then like the other songs on here, then it goes on this Time Machine, the third track, which is boring as hell. Like nearly every single song on here is boring, and when it's not boring, it's funny for the wrong reasons. Because like nearly like there's a ton of songs here that are just so dumb and boring that I don't even care. Like that goes for basically everything after the first two tracks. Like basically for nearly the majority of the tracks. Like Bohemian Rhapsody, Time Machine, Pretty Young Girl, the title track, Baby is sickening. By the Bridge, which is the one try at being somewhat dark on this thing, and it's like somebody got killed by the bridge again or something like that. I think that's kind of what the chorus is. It's so dumb. It's so stupid. The track Best Friend is sickening. Vacation by Myself, which actually that track and another track that I'm going to mention later in a little bit, I should say. Hopefully this is not going to be super long. It's already at 8 minutes, but the track Vacation with Myself is one of two tracks on this thing where Mac DeMarco helps out, because Logic has said that he's a fan of Mac DeMarco. He has Salad Days. The Salad Days font, like the way it was written on the album cover, it's tattooed, I think, on his arm. Which is funny because that's one of Mac DeMarco's worst albums. But anyway, and then DeLorean is boring as hell. 13, the final track, I Love You Forever, that one's a gem in that it's one of the worst love songs I've ever heard in my life. But so many songs on here are just monotonous. They're boring. Like, if you like this, if you like any of the tracks that I just said, that I just mentioned, like, do you listen to other music? Do you listen to have you listened to pop and rock music before? Like, have you listened to any rock music from like the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s? Like, have you heard anything? Because if you like this, you got to realize that like this has been done not only a million times before, but a million artists have done this way better than Logic's failed attempt. And I should say, if you're a person that just thinks, oh, because it doesn't sound bad musically, like musically speaking, everything is decently performed on here. So it's like wow, that was disgusting. If your standard of like, oh, if it's not terribly performed, it's, there's a standard of like, it's decently performed, the chords being played aren't the worst thing in the world. Like, they're incredibly rudimentary on here for the majority. But like, because it's not completely terrible, that means it's good. And my God, if that is your standard for music, I want you to. I can't be friends with you. I'm sorry. I just can't do that because then you like literally everything, regardless of what's actually going on or if there's anything to be noted. Anyways, getting away from those songs that I mentioned in Big Gauntlet, there's just a couple tracks that are just so hilarious they made me like want to die. Because I was just hurting from so hard on the inside. The track Lemon Drop, which is like one of the tracks where Logic, I think, is trying to make like a bit of a pop rock, a bit of an edgy pop rock jam. And my God, his lyrics on this thing are some of the stupidest crap I've heard like in the last couple of years. Like, it's up there. It is up there. Like, Logic, does he even realize what words mean? Like, because it's just so dumb. Like, it's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, some of the stuff he says on this track. And, like, it just feels like he heard... What song does this kind of sound like? It kind of sounds like, he heard, like, an edgy pop rock song from, like, the 80s or the 70s. With a bit of a groove, like a bit of a funky groove. And then he was like, oh, I'm just going to do that. And then he puts together the worst song ever made. Just kidding. It's not the worst. It's up there, though. It's up there. Whoop, whoa. Hey, everybody. This is such a bad video, but I'm going to post it anyway because screw y'all. Somebody will get a laugh out of this. And then there's the track I am probably going... I'm sorry. I need to pronounce this properly. The 10th track on this record, I'm probably gonna rock your world. That is the name of the track, and literally it is a sexy kind of funk jam, which again features help from Mac DeMarco. And holy crap, this is one of the worst things I think I've ever heard in my life. Other than it has a nice sort of mood, but the lyrics. Logic's terrible vocals on this thing. Like, for the most part, Logic is passable on this album. But there's this track and a couple other moments. His vocals and his inflections and the way he's singing just makes me want to die a little bit. Like, just... Why does he think that people want to listen to this? And if you're listening to this and think this is good, again, I just don't understand how you can be that. How are you a person that exists in the world? But, my God. Yeah, so that is this album. It's, I'd probably give it, on a scale of 1 to 10, like I do in most of my reviews. I probably wouldn't have a favorite track. I probably would have a lot of least favorite tracks. I probably actually wouldn't list anything in the favorite to least favorite. On a scale of 1 to 10, I think I would give it like a 2.2, and that's being nice. Like, this is terrible. The only thing that it has going for it is that the production is slightly decent. Like, just slightly. The track Can I Kick It has the best beat, and it's just some Tribe Called Quest worship, which is cool. But like, my God, I've never heard somebody who's this high up in music put out something that is so terrible and half-baked and rudimentary in the style of music that they don't usually do, and they can put it out because they're that big. He can just put this out and just say that, yeah, this is an album. This is something that exists. Like, I am honestly dumbfounded by this thing. But yeah, 2.2 out of 10, I would estimate, maybe even lower. I don't know. Logic, I don't know what to say to you. I really don't know. But for one, the one track that I think is somewhat enjoyable on this thing, the second track, even on this track, you cannot go 5 minutes in your entire existence without mentioning that you're freaking biracial, and that happens on this track. Like, do you have nothing to talk about? You have nothing to talk about at this point. I feel like you can't be creative. You can't have a song where you don't repeat lyrics directly that you've already repeated before. You can have points that you revisit. Like you can't focus on a topic for long enough to make a song that is from front to back engaging. You just don't. You don't. Even that new rap song that you literally just put out before this, the Confessions of a Dangerous Mind song that's supposed to be from an album of the same title, even that song, not only are you just mad that people are telling you that your new stuff sucks, because it does, because it does, and you're just like, oh, what if you were that person, you know? What if you were that person that had this happen to them? There were like people were telling you, oh, your stuff sucks. Well, then I would find out what I'm doing wrong, and I would change it, or I would realize that, oh, actually, yeah, they're right to an extent. I think, like, if so many people are telling you that something is freaking terrible, and they are, like, maybe not the majority of people that you talk to, because, you know, the majority of people are always going to be like, hey, you know, I always support you. And a lot of people are just going to unconditionally support you that care about you. But, like, if there's so many people saying, yeah, you're not only is I haven't even touched the book. The book, from what I've heard, is terrible as well. But going further, like, if you're a person that listens to this, and have so many people have listened to your music in the last couple years, and said, hey man, you're out of ideas, you sound like you're just half baked, everything you put out sounds half baked, everything you've made in the past while has just been terrible. Change your style. Change what you're doing to some degree, because honestly, I don't think that there's at this point, I'd be surprised if there's a Logic something that I'm ever gonna like again, other than his first 2 records and some of the stuff off of his mixtapes. Like, this is coming from a guy who wanted to be a Logic fan, and was a Logic fan for a period of time, but oh my God. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. I'm gonna upload this raw, see if people like it. Logic, Supermarket. My name is Joe Proulx. These are Joe Proulx music reviews, and Logic, you disappoint me.